The night was cold when Daniel stepped off the crowded transport ship. He had been traveling for days across alien space, searching for a cheap place to stay. His money was almost gone, his body was tired, and his mind only wanted a bed. The alien city around him glowed with strange lights. Tall buildings made of crystal and metal stood high above him. Voices in unknown tongues filled the streets and strange smells floated in the air. Daniel clutched his small bag, the last of his belongings. He was a human in a city of aliens, and that made him stand out. People stared at him, some with curiosity, some with dislike. He ignored them and kept walking, his boots heavy on the shining stone road. He needed a room, nothing more, nothing less. At the corner of a narrow street, he saw a sign written in broken human words. Room for rent. Cheap, safe, warm. The letters flickered with weak neon, and Daniel sighed with relief. Finally, maybe he had found a place where he could rest. The building looked old compared to the glowing towers around it. Its walls were cracked, its windows dusty, and the door was heavy wood. He knocked, and the sound echoed down the street. After a long moment, the door creaked open. A tall alien with gray-green skin and sharp yellow eyes stared at him. The alien wore dark clothes, his hands long and thin. Room? The alien asked in rough human tongue. Yes, Daniel answered quickly. I need a room just for myself. The alien's mouth curved into a strange smile. Good, good. Human wants rest, I give room. But with a deal? Daniel frowned but nodded. How much? The alien waved his hand. Not much money. But rule, my house has rule. Daniel followed the alien inside. The hall was dim. The air smelled of damp wood and smoke. Old lanterns hung on the walls, casting weak orange light. The floor creaked under Daniel's steps. Somewhere deeper inside the building, he thought he heard a soft sound, almost like someone breathing heavily. The landlord led him up the stairs, speaking slowly in broken words. You pay little, you stay safe, you eat here if want. You sleep good? Daniel nodded, still tired, not caring about details. All I need is peace and a bed, he said. The alien chuckled low. Peace. Yes, you get... But one more thing. They reached the second floor. The alien stopped outside a wooden door, old and scratched. He placed a bony hand on it and looked back at Daniel. My house has rule, human. Room is never empty. Room comes with something, someone. Daniel tilted his head, confused. What do you mean, someone? The alien only gave a grin, sharp teeth showing. You see soon, he said, and pushed the door open. The room inside was small, but better than Daniel expected. There was a bed, a table, and a chair. The window showed the lights of the city outside. Daniel stepped inside, ready to drop his bag on the bed, but then he froze. His eyes caught a shape in the far corner. A girl was sitting there, half hidden in shadow. Her skin was pale blue, glowing faintly in the dim light. Her hair was silver, falling messy around her face. Her eyes were wide, glowing softly like stars. She hugged her knees to her chest. Watching him with fear, Daniel stepped back, surprised. Wait, who is she? He asked sharply. The landlord's voice came from behind, calm and slow. She is part of the room, part of the deal. Daniel turned, his mouth dry. What deal? I only wanted a bed. The alien shrugged, his long fingers tapping the doorframe. Room not alone, human. You rent, you take both. This is rule. The girl lowered her head, her silver hair hiding her face. Daniel felt a strange chill in his chest. Why was she here? Why did she look so broken and silent? The landlord gave no answer to his unspoken questions. Instead, he stepped back and left. Closing the door with a heavy thud, Daniel stood in silence. The dim room pressing around him, he looked at the girl, and she looked back at him with frightened eyes. Her lips trembled like she wanted to speak but couldn't. Finally, Daniel said softly, I don't understand this, but don't be afraid, I won't hurt you. The girl said nothing, only hugged her knees tighter, her glowing eyes never leaving his face. Daniel sat slowly on the edge of the bed. His heart beat heavy. He had rented a room. But what he found was something far stranger, a secret he had never asked for, and deep down, he felt the beginning of a storm he did not yet understand. Daniel could not sleep that night. The room was silent except for the faint hum of the alien city outside the window. But silence did not bring him peace, because in the corner of the room sat the strange alien girl, her silver hair hiding her face, her glowing eyes watching him in silence. He lay on the bed staring at the ceiling. Every time he closed his eyes, he felt her gaze, not hateful, not angry, but heavy with fear. It was as if she expected him to do something terrible. That thought twisted in his chest. He whispered to himself, "I didn't come here for this, finally." He sat up, running a hand through his messy hair. The girl flinched at his sudden movement. Daniel raised both hands slowly, his voice soft. "It's okay. I won't hurt you." But the girl only hugged her knees tighter. Her body trembling, the wooden door creaked, and Daniel turned quickly. The landlord appeared again, his yellow eyes glowing in the weak lantern light. He smiled, showing sharp teeth. "So, human, you meet my daughter?" Daniel's heart skipped. "Your daughter?" he asked, his voice hard with disbelief. The alien nodded, stepping inside as if proud. "Yes, my blood, my family, part of my deal. When you rent my room, you also accept her. She cooks, she cleans. She keeps you company, good deal, yes?" Daniel clenched his fists. He wanted to shout, but he held his voice low. "She doesn't look like she wants to be here. She looks scared. Like a prisoner." The landlord's grin widened. "She is young, shy, but she will learn. You just need patience." The girl lowered her head further. Daniel noticed her shoulders shaking, silent tears running down her pale blue skin. His stomach tightened. This wasn't a daughter being cared for. This was something else, something darker. When the landlord left again, closing the door behind him, Daniel stood and walked slowly toward the corner. The girl gasped and pressed herself against the wall, her glowing eyes wide with terror. He stopped halfway, raising his palms. "I won't come closer, okay? Just listen." He sat down on the floor, leaving space between them. For a long time, there was only silence. The city's neon glow spilled faintly through the dirty window. Daniel spoke again, softly. "What's your name?" The girl shook her head, whispering so quietly that he barely heard. "I don't know if I should tell you." Her voice was trembling like glass ready to break. Daniel leaned forward slightly. "You don't have to if you don't want. But I can't just call you nothing." After a pause, she whispered, "Lyra." Daniel repeated it gently. "Lyra." The name felt delicate on his tongue, like it didn't belong to the darkness of this room. She peeked at him through her silver hair. As if surprised, he said it with respect, not ownership. Daniel nodded, forcing a calm smile. "All right, Lyra. I rented a room, not a person. I don't know what your father thinks, but I don't see you as part of a deal." Her lips parted, her eyes widened. For a second she looked like she might speak, but then she shook her head fast and hugged her knees tighter. Daniel leaned his back against the wall. He stared at the ceiling again, sighing. He had come here only for shelter, yet now he was tangled in a web that smelled of secrets and fear. Later that night he heard soft sobs. He turned his head and saw Lyra crying quietly into her arms. He wanted to go to her to tell her it would be all right, but he knew one wrong move would only scare her more. So he whispered across the room, "You're not alone now." The sobs slowed, and she looked at him with wet, glowing eyes. For the first time, her lips formed a small word. "Why?" Daniel blinked. "Why what?" Her voice cracked. "Why are you kind? All others. Not." Her words cut him deeper than he expected. What had she gone through? What had this landlord done to her before? He swallowed hard. "I don't know what others did, Lyra, but I'm not here to hurt you." Her eyes softened for just a heartbeat, then she quickly looked away, ashamed of her own hope. The night stretched long, heavy with silence and half-formed trust. When morning light finally touched the cracked window, Daniel was still awake. He sat on the bed, staring at the girl curled up in the corner. He knew one thing with certainty. This was no normal rent. This was no father-daughter bond. Something was very wrong in this house, and if he stayed, he would have to face it. As he rose to wash his face in the rusty sink, he heard the landlord's voice downstairs, low, commanding, and cruel. The words carried up through the thin walls. "You must obey, girl, or you will learn pain again." Daniel froze, his jaw tight, his hands curling into fists. The truth burned inside him now. This wasn't a daughter, not in the way the landlord wanted him to believe. This was a captive, and Daniel, by stepping into this room, had just walked into her prison too. The night inside the old house was heavy and full of shadows. Daniel lay on the bed, staring at the cracked ceiling, but sleep never came, because from the corner of the room came small, broken sounds. At first he thought it was the wind, but then he realized Lyra was crying. Her sobs were so quiet that anyone else might not hear, but Daniel's human ears caught every trembling note. He turned his head slowly, not wanting to startle her. The girl sat with her arms around her knees, rocking back and forth. Her silver hair fell across her glowing eyes, and her lips moved as if whispering words only she could understand. Daniel sat up carefully, his voice low, soft like a breeze. "Lyra, are you all right?" The girl jumped, pressing herself against the wall. Her breathing quickened, her glowing eyes wide with fear. "I'm sorry," Daniel said quickly, raising his hands. "I didn't mean to scare you, I just heard you crying." For a long moment, she only stared, her chest rising and falling fast. Then her lips parted and the whispers spilled out. They never stopped, the chains, the rules, the pain. Her voice cracked like a broken instrument. Daniel leaned forward, his brow furrowed. "What chains? What pain? Tell me." Lyra shook her head hard. "No, I cannot. If I speak, he will know. He always knows." Her words sent a chill down Daniel's spine. The landlord. Was he listening even now? Daniel glanced at the walls, the ceiling. Were there holes, hidden devices, ways to watch her? The thought twisted in his stomach. He lowered his voice to a whisper. "Lyra, look at me. I'm not like him. I won't hurt you." Her glowing eyes met his for the first time. There was a spark of something different, not trust yet. But longing for it, she whispered, "You don't understand. I was not always here. I was taken, sold. He keeps me because no one comes looking for me. To him, I am not a daughter. I am a thing to trade." Daniel's hands clenched on his knees. His heart pounded, anger rising in his chest. He had suspected something was wrong, but hearing her broken truth was worse than he imagined. His voice shook as he asked, "How long have you been here?" Her eyes filled with tears. "I don't know. Time stops in this house. Days and nights feel the same. He calls me his daughter to strangers, but behind doors, I am nothing. No name, no freedom, only orders." Daniel's jaw tightened. He wanted to storm downstairs, confront the landlord, but he forced himself to stay calm. If he rushed, he might only make it worse for her. He whispered instead, "You have a name, Lyra, and you are not nothing, not to me." The words made her tremble. She pressed her face into her knees, hiding her tears, but he could see her shoulders shaking, as if his simple kindness was something too heavy to carry. The silence stretched again, broken only by her quiet sobs. Then slowly she lifted her head. Her glowing eyes glistened with tears. She whispered, "Why are you kind? You could use me like others did, but you don't." Daniel's chest ached at her words. What kind of torment had she suffered before? He shook his head firmly. "Because you're not a deal. You're not property, you're a person, and no one should treat you like less." Her lips trembled. A single tear rolled down her cheek. She whispered again, voice breaking, "If you stay, he will make you part of it too. He will trap you like he trapped me, and then you will hate me for it." Daniel stood slowly. He walked toward the window. The alien city glowed outside, towers of crystal shining in the night. So many people living their lives, and here in this dark room, one girl's life was being stolen. He clenched his fists. He couldn't walk away, not now, not after seeing her pain. Turning back, he said firmly, "I don't know how yet, but I'll find a way to help you." Lyra stared at him, her glowing eyes wide with disbelief. "No one helps. No one ever helps," she whispered. Daniel's voice grew stronger. "Then I'll be the first." The sound of heavy footsteps echoed in the hall. The door rattled as the landlord's deep voice called, "Human! Sleep well? She serve you good?" Daniel froze, his jaw tight. He looked at Lyra, who shrank back into the shadows, trembling. Daniel forced his voice calm. "Yes, I slept fine," he lied. The footsteps faded away, the house falling silent again. But Daniel knew the truth now. The whispers in the dark were not just fear. They were cries for help. And he had to decide, would he risk everything to answer them? Morning light slipped through the dirty window. Daniel sat on the bed, restless and alert. His eyes kept shifting between the cracked door and the corner where Lyra sat curled up. Her silver hair fell across her face, but her glowing eyes watched him in silence. It was not trust yet, but she no longer hid her tears. The sound of footsteps echoed in the hall, heavy and slow. Then the door opened without knocking. The landlord stepped in, his yellow eyes sharp, his grin full of teeth. "Ah, human. Still here," he said in broken human tongue. "You like my room? You like my daughter?" Daniel forced his jaw tight. "She's not part of my rent," he said firmly. The alien chuckled darkly, moving closer. "Everything here has price, room, food, safety. Even her, Daniel's chest burned with anger. She's not a thing to sell. But the landlord raised one long finger, wagging it like scolding a child. Careful, human, careful. In this city, power decides what is thing, what is person. You want cheap room? You accept deal? He walked to Lyra's corner, and the girl shrank back, trembling. The landlord's hand hovered above her head, not touching, but close enough to make her flinch. She serve, she obey, or she pay with pain. You want to keep her safe? Then you take her as part of room. Daniel stood, fists clenched. His voice was low but hard. I didn't come here for this. I only needed a place to sleep, not this twisted game. The landlord's grin widened, his sharp teeth catching the light. Then leave, human, but remember, you step out, she stays, and when next one comes, maybe not kind like you. Daniel froze, his heart heavy. He looked at Lyra, her glowing eyes filled with silent pleading. She didn't speak, but her trembling hands clutched her knees tighter. It was as if she begged him not to go, not to leave her alone in this nightmare. The landlord leaned close, his foul breath filling the room. You see now? Dangerous city, you human, weak here, but with me. With my house you live safe. All I ask, accept the deal. Accept her. Daniel's chest tightened. The alien wanted him to treat Lyra like a servant, a possession. But every instinct inside Daniel screamed against it. Still, he knew one wrong move could bring danger faster than he could handle. He forced a calm tone. Let me think, he said. The landlord's grin faded into a sly smirk. Good, human, good, think fast, because tomorrow, maybe deal changes. With that, he turned and left, slamming the door shut. The echo of his footsteps faded down the hall. Leaving silence once again, Daniel exhaled hard, his hands shaking. He turned to Lyra, who had pulled herself tighter into the corner. Her glowing eyes shimmered with fresh tears. He knelt slowly, keeping his distance. Lyra, he can't treat you this way. He can't keep you like this. She shook her head, her voice trembling. He always does. I tried to run once. He broke my leg, kept me chained until it healed. No one helps. No one dares. Daniel's chest burned with rage, but he kept his voice steady. You said no one helps? But I'm not no one. I'm here now, and I won't let him own you. Her eyes widened slightly, she whispered. Why risk for me? You don't know me. You could leave, be free. Daniel shook his head. Because if I walk away, I'd be as cruel as him, and I won't live like that. For the first time, Lyra's lips parted with something close to hope, but then fear pulled her expression back. He will not let you. If you defy him, he will make you suffer. And me too. Daniel looked at the cracked door. The weight of choice pressed heavy on his shoulders. If he refused the offer, Lyra would pay the price. If he accepted, he'd step into a trap of control. But in his heart, he knew there had to be another way. As the night returned, Daniel sat awake, planning. The alien city's neon lights flickered outside the window. He thought of the landlord's grin, the cruel hand hovering above Lyra's head, and he whispered to himself, no more deals, I'll break his rules, even if it kills me. He looked toward Lyra, who had finally drifted into uneasy sleep, her face soft in the dim light, her silver hair tangled around her cheeks. She looked fragile, but Daniel saw strength hidden beneath her fear, and he made a silent vow. Tomorrow, he would start to break her chains. The house felt colder that night. Daniel sat on the edge of the bed, his fists tight, his mind racing. Every creak in the floor, every gust of wind through the cracked walls made him alert. He knew the landlord's offer was no offer at all. It was a threat wrapped in a smile. In the corner, Lyra sat silently. Her glowing eyes flickered in the dim light. She had not spoken since the landlord left earlier, but Daniel could feel her fear filling the room like smoke. He couldn't stay quiet anymore. Lyra, he whispered, leaning forward. I need to know the truth. Who are you, really? And what has he done to you? For a long moment, she didn't move. Her silver hair hid her face. Daniel thought she would ignore him, but then slowly she raised her head. Her eyes glistened with tears, her lips trembling. He calls me daughter, she said softly. But I am not, I never was. Daniel froze, his stomach twisting. What do you mean? Her voice cracked as she spoke again. My parents are gone, I don't even remember their faces. I was small when they died. He found me wandering the streets alone, hungry. Weak, she hugged her knees tighter, her body shaking. At first, he gave me food. He gave me shelter. I thought he saved me, but it was a lie. He never planned to be family. He planned to own me. Daniel's chest tightened with anger. So he trapped you? Lyra nodded, her tears falling. Yes, he told the city I was his child. No one questions him, no one cares, and behind closed doors. I am nothing, only part of his deals. He rents me like he rents these rooms. Her words hit Daniel like a blade, his stomach churned. His blood hot with fury, he had suspected. But hearing it confirmed cut deeper than he imagined. Why didn't you run away? He asked. Her eyes widened with terror. I tried once, she whispered. Her voice shook. He broke my leg. Locked me in chains until I healed. Then told me if I try again, I will lose more than a leg. Daniel's fists clenched until his knuckles turned white. He wanted to storm downstairs to tear the landlord apart, but he forced himself to breathe. If he moved too fast, Lyra would pay the price. Not just him, he lowered his voice. Steady but firm. You are not his daughter. You are not his property, do you hear me, Lyra? You are more than his lies. For the first time, her eyes lifted fully to his. A flicker of hope shone through the fear. But then she shook her head quickly. No. You don't understand. If you defy him, he will destroy you. And he will destroy me. He owns this place. He knows people in the city. If you fight him, no one will help you. Daniel leaned closer, his voice sharp. Then I won't ask anyone for help. I'll find another way. She stared at him, her breath catching. Why? Why risk everything? You don't know me. I am nothing to you. Daniel's voice softened. You are not nothing, and I can't stand by while he does this, not to you, not to anyone. Her lips trembled as more tears spilled down her cheeks. She whispered, No one ever said that to me before. Daniel reached out slowly, stopping halfway. I won't touch you if you don't want me to, but I promise you are safe with me. For a moment, silence filled the room. Then Lyra nodded faintly, her trembling eased, though fear still lingered in her glowing eyes. The sound of footsteps echoed again in the hall. Daniel's body tensed. The landlord's voice boomed from behind the door. Human! Tomorrow we talk again. Make choice, take deal, or leave. But remember, if you leave, she stays. The door rattled, then silence returned. Daniel's jaw tightened, his blood boiling. He looked at Lyra, who sat frozen, her face pale with terror. Her whispers trembled into the air. He will never let me go. He will never stop, even if you leave. I will always be here. Daniel rose from the bed. Pacing the small room, his mind a storm of anger and determination, he turned back to her, his voice hard with resolve. Then we won't leave by his rules. We'll find our own way out. Lyra's eyes widened. A faint spark of disbelief and hope flickering together, she whispered. You would do that for me? Daniel met her gaze firmly. Yes, because you deserve freedom, and I won't let him own you another day. That night, as the alien city glowed beyond the window, Daniel lay awake, plans forming in his mind. He didn't know yet how to fight the landlord. But one thing was certain. He would not let Lyra remain a prisoner. Not while he still drew breath. The night stretched long and heavy. Daniel sat awake, his mind racing. He kept glancing at the corner where Lyra slept, curled against the wall. Her face looked calm in sleep, but her body was tense even in dreams. She had lived in fear for so long that even rest was not safe for her. Daniel whispered to himself, no more. He had promised her, and he would keep that promise, but keeping it meant danger. The landlord was no ordinary bully. He had power in the city, connections, and cruelty. If Daniel made one mistake, both he and Lyra would pay. At dawn, the landlord returned. The door creaked open without a knock. His yellow eyes scanned the room. His grin sharp. Well, human, did you think? Did you make choice? Daniel forced a calm face. Yes, he said, his voice flat. I will stay. For now. The landlord's grin widened. Good, good. Human is smart. Remember, she is part of room. Part of you now. His gaze slid toward Lyra, who lowered her head, trembling. Daniel's fists tightened, but he held his tongue. For now, he had to play along. When the landlord left, Daniel exhaled hard. He turned to Lyra, who stared at him in confusion. You told him you would stay? She whispered. Daniel nodded, his eyes burning with fire. Yes, because if I left, he would hurt you. I said yes to keep you safe for now, but I don't plan to stay under his rules. I plan to break them. Her eyes widened, her lips parted in shock. Break them? How? You don't know his power. You don't know what he can do. Daniel leaned closer. Then tell me, show me how he controls you if I'm going to fight him. I need to know everything. For the first time, Lyra reached under her sleeve and pulled out a thin metal band. It wrapped around her wrist. Glowing faintly, this, she whispered, her voice trembling. It is a binding. He locks it with a code. It burns if I try to disobey. And if I run too far, it shocks me until I collapse. Daniel stared at the cruel device, fury boiling inside him. He wanted to rip it off her arm, but Lyra shook her head quickly. No, don't touch it. It will hurt me. Only he knows how to unlock it. Daniel's mind raced. He wasn't an engineer, but he knew how machines worked. And he had seen enough on his travels to guess every lock had a weakness. Every chain could be broken. He lowered his voice. Lyra, listen. If I can get my hands on his keys, or even on the device that controls this band, I can free you. Her glowing eyes widened with fear and hope tangled together. You would risk that? If he catches you, he will kill you, and worse. He will make me watch. Daniel's voice was steady. Then I just won't get caught. That evening, Daniel made his move. He waited until the house grew quiet. The air was heavy with smoke from the landlord's pipe. Footsteps downstairs slowed as the alien grew tired. Finally, silence, broken only by the creak of wood as Daniel moved. He whispered to Lyra, stay quiet. Don't move. She grabbed his sleeve weakly. Please, don't. If he hears you. Daniel placed a finger to his lips. I promised, remember? I'll come back. He slipped out of the room, moving silently down the narrow stairs. The house smelled of damp wood and burning oil. Shadows stretched across the floor like grasping hands. At the bottom, he found the landlord's study. A heavy door half closed, light spilling out. Daniel pushed it gently and peered inside. The landlord sat slumped in a chair, asleep, his long fingers still gripping a bottle of dark liquid. On the desk lay a small metal device with glowing runes. Next to it, a set of thin keys. Daniel's heart pounded in his chest. This was it, the control for Lyra's band. He stepped inside, his boots silent on the floor. Every muscle tense, every breath shallow. He reached for the device, his fingers brushed the cold metal. Human, a voice rasped. Daniel froze, his blood running cold. The landlord's yellow eyes were half open, a cruel smile spreading across his face. You think I sleep so deep? You think I don't watch my prey? In an instant, the landlord rose, towering over him. His long hand shot out, grabbing Daniel by the collar. You want to steal from me? You want to break my chains? His voice was a growl, sharp and dangerous. Daniel struggled, his fists pounding against the alien's chest. But the landlord's strength was inhuman. He slammed Daniel against the wall. Stupid human, you should have taken my offer. Now you will learn. Upstairs, Lyra's scream echoed through the house. Daniel! The landlord's grip tightened on Daniel's collar. His yellow eyes burned with fury, sharp teeth bared in a cruel grin. You think you clever human? You think you take what is mine? Daniel struggled, gasping for air as the alien's hand crushed his throat. He kicked, punched, fought, but the landlord was too strong. Upstairs, Lyra's voice rang out, desperate and broken. Daniel! Please! Her cry cut through the dark house, filling it with fear and fire. Daniel's chest burned. His vision blurred, but inside him, something refused to give up. With one last surge of strength, he slammed his knee into the landlord's gut. The alien hissed, loosening his grip just enough. Daniel tore free, stumbling back. His hand snatched the small glowing device from the desk. The landlord roared, lunging toward him. Daniel dashed up the stairs, the floorboards creaking under his boots. Lyra! He shouted. She stood at the top, her glowing eyes wide with terror. Catch! Daniel threw the device toward her. Her hands trembled, but she caught it, clutching it against her chest. The landlord thundered up the steps behind Daniel. His heavy steps shook the house. Give it back, girl, or I break your human friend. His voice was a thunderous growl echoing off the walls. Lyra's tears streaked down her face. Her fingers shook as she searched the device. Buttons, runes, symbols she half remembered. Pain burned in her wrist as the band lit with a cruel glow. The landlord had activated it from his body's link. She screamed, collapsing against the wall. Daniel rushed to her side, his arms holding her. Stay with me, Lyra, don't give up. Her glowing eyes locked on his, filled with pain and determination. I can't. It hurts too much. Daniel's jaw tightened, his voice fierce. Yes, you can. You're stronger than him, stronger than this. Press it, Lyra. Press it now. Through the haze of pain, her trembling thumb pressed the rune. For a heartbeat, nothing happened. Then, click. The band snapped open and fell to the floor. Its glow fading into darkness, Lyra gasped, her body shaking with relief. For the first time in years, her wrist was free. The landlord froze halfway up the stairs, his eyes widening in shock. No. No, that is mine. She is mine. Daniel rose, his fists clenched. Not anymore, he charged. Slamming his shoulder into the alien, the landlord crashed backward into the wall. The old house groaned under the impact. Dust falling from the ceiling, the two struggled fiercely, fists, claws, and fury colliding. The landlord's strength was monstrous, but Daniel's will burned hotter. He wasn't fighting for a room or survival. He was fighting for Lyra's freedom. The alien shoved Daniel hard. Sending him sprawling to the floor, he raised a clawed hand to strike. But before the blow could fall, a voice rang out. Strong and clear, enough! It was Lyra. Her silver hair shone in the dim light. Her glowing eyes no longer full of fear but fire. She held the broken band in her hand like a weapon. You don't own me, she cried. Not anymore. With all her strength, she hurled the broken band at the landlord's face. It struck his eye and he roared in pain. That one moment was all Daniel needed. He surged up and drove his fist into the alien's jaw. The landlord staggered, lost his footing, and tumbled backward down the stairs. The crash echoed through the house. Followed by silence, Daniel stood panting. His chest heaving, he looked at Lyra, who clutched the railing with shaking hands. Is it over? She whispered. Daniel stared down the stairs. The landlord's body lying still. He exhaled slowly. For now, he said. But we can't stay here, we need to leave. Tonight. Lyra's glowing eyes filled with tears, not of fear this time, but of relief. Her voice shook as she whispered. I never thought I would be free, never thought anyone would fight for me. Daniel gave her a tired smile. You're free because you're worth it, Lyra. Don't ever believe otherwise, they packed quickly. Daniel grabbing only his bag and the control device. He led Lyra out into the cold alien night. The city lights glowed around them, tall towers rising like silent witnesses. For the first time, she stepped into the street without chains, her steps unsteady but her heart light. As they walked side by side, Daniel glanced at her. You don't have to stay with me, you can choose where you want to go, what you want to be. Lyra looked at him, her silver hair catching the neon glow. Her voice soft but steady. I choose to stay with you. Because you saw me as more than a deal. You saw me as someone. Daniel smiled faintly. Then let's go. A new start. Far from this place and so under the strange alien sky, a human and an alien girl walked into the unknown together. Free at last, but carrying the memory of the chains they broke, and the price they paid for freedom.